Hey, good evening. Tonight we're going to be planting some more Paulownia Elongata. It's a Royal Empress tree. It's the world's fastest growing hardwood tree. It's one of the world's most efficient carbon dioxide filters and grows anywhere from 8 to 15 feet a year. It reaches its full height in about 5 to 6 years for this species and is a really good tree for lumber production as well as organic material collection for mulch and other types of heat pellets. They are native to Asia. These specific ones I'm getting are from New Zealand, and I have 2 of them planted, and we're going to go ahead and plant a few more. What I have here basically is just a shallow hole with a little bit of organic material mixed into it. These trees really like sandy loam soil and are drought tolerant, so they won't be needing a lot of water. But they are a little fragile in the beginning, which is why I have this screen put up around them, which is just basic field fencing or 2x4 welded wire fence. And then on the outside of it is some tulle, and that is just, it's used in weddings and stuff for decoration. It's a really lightweight woven material, and it tears easily. See that? But it's strong enough to resist the wind and help cut it. So that's pretty much the design we're going with. I have a drip line, which will be where any irrigation is coming off of. It's not going to be irrigated regularly, and it's going to be on a manual tap. So I'll be having a line coming off here and going there, and then manually water it whenever it looks a little sad. So let's go ahead and get the others installed here. X marks the spot. In the future, let's say 5-6 years from now, this tree will supposedly be 4 stories tall and have a canopy that reaches 30 feet out. And so if this is where the trunk's going to be planted, eventually it will almost be the width of that board set right there. And it will go out 15 feet from here, which is about it's pretty much about 15 feet from that spot right here to this post. So hopefully that means that this entire area will be shaded in the future from this one tree. We need to keep that in mind because any plants or perennial stuff that we install around it is going to have its pretty much its area that it can grow and change from full sun to like full shade. So plant with that in mind. Now I need to go get a small shovel or a rake. It's going to be about a foot diameter hole by about 8 inches deep or so. More like a shallow pan. So, depending on where you are in your soil profile, you may need to add a bunch of sand. Obviously, I don't need to. Or you may need to, as is my case, add a bunch of organic matter. And so I have that here. It's just called Topper. It's by this company, Kellogg. It's just like $7 at Home Depot, Lowe's, the big stores. It's OMRI listed, although it does not matter for my tree. It's actually pretty cheap, really nice color. What I'm using this for is to amend my soil so that the tree has a better time of dealing with moisture and won't be so subject to the drought. I'm just going to do a little bit because it really likes the sand and the drainage. So, sand is a better passageway than it is a container or holder of water as far as soil is concerned. So, once I get this all dug, I'm just going to add what I can until it looks good. Just trust that a tree knows how to grow, okay? And so if you provide it with a home, some basic nutrients, and keep the soil nice and alive, the plants will really do the rest. I find that we kind of as a people overthink what plants actually need. And living out here in the desert has really helped me gain an appreciation for how little it actually is. Some of these plants are what's called extremophiles. I don't know if the Paulownia Elongata is in that classification or category, but if it can survive 115-degree summers in the dry desert and 15-degree harsh winters, that's a pretty extreme plant to me. So you just gotta know that every living thing's number one goal is to live, right? And to recreate itself, especially plants. So don't worry about what the actual steps are. Just get in there, start digging a hole, because you know it's got to go into the ground, right? And by the time you're done sitting there thinking about it, you can have the hole dug. It's just about the right depth already. I'm just going to probably spend 15 seconds with both hands free of the camera finishing this up. I'll take a little bit of this black material here, stir it in, and then it will be ready to go in the ground. I'm going to get a few of these sites done like this, and then that's going to be it for this evening. And we'll come back when I have a few more of those cages built so that they get as strong a start as they can. Look how are you? Giant rock alert. Sometimes I gotta resist getting out the big equipment to just dig small holes. Because, I mean, it's just a little hole, you know. You can go get drills and augers and all sorts of stuff like that, but sometimes you gotta view the terrain itself as a challenge. It teaches you a lot about its profile when you're sitting here struggling with it. Okay. A little longer than 15 seconds, but I'm not in any race. The goal is to get it done, not get it done in any certain amount of time. And so as long as we accomplish certain steps that allow us to get there, we'll be good. Okay. It's probably a little on the rich side, but my hole is far from round. So I'm putting some of that soil in, and then I'm grabbing some of the old soil and tossing it over the top of it, okay? And that allows us to mix native soil and microbes and all that good stuff with all the other junk that we just got from the wheelbarrow and whatever the heck the Kellogg's factory puts in their stuff, right? Okay. So it should really be a heavy sandy mix for these. You should be able to reach in and get a lot of little pieces of the bark, but it shouldn't be mainly organic matter. It should be mainly sand. There we go. That's it. Okay. Believe it or not, that's the hole. See how easy that is? I mean, it's a hole. If I could get my dog to dig on these X's, I would have this whole step eliminated. Now the next step for me is I really like to give all these plants the best head start I can. And so I'm going to make up a mix of kelp juice, and that's going to be 1 gallon of water to 1 tablespoon of kelp concentrate. I get it from Peaceful Valley Farms or like groworganic.com. Not a sponsored video. I just Born and raised in Cali. They are from Grass Valley, California. They're really nice people. And so I try to buy my stuff there. If I could find someone over here, I'd buy it from them too. Now, I get the kelp juice mixed, put it on top of the soil. It gives it a ton of good stuff that the plant will need when it's transplanted. It helps it resist shock. It helps it start rooting. And it's just really incredible stuff. I recommend using it all the time. So, here we go. Here's a container of what I use. This is where it's from, Peaceful Valley. It is certified organic liquid kelp. And then a bunch of information on instructions. So, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I rarely follow instructions in my life. I just go about a 1/1000. And that's it. We'll fill that gallon container up, and then that will be enough for one tree transplant. And that's going to be the boost to get them started. So although it is getting a little dark, it's a really good idea to plant it this time because it gives the tree overnight a chance to adjust to its new home without the really strong sun beating down on it, okay? Imagine trying to move into your new place at high noon as opposed to early in the morning, doing all the work. It's pretty much what the tree has to do. I'm just making a ring around the hole that I've just dug. And I'm now taking the kelp mixture and watering it. And this is just going to give this new home a little moisture, because right now it's just desert, right? And if you want to, you can just kind of stir it a little to get it absorbed a little better. Okay, we'll let that soak down until we just see the wet soil. Then we'll go ahead and grab the tree. For tonight, I don't think I'm going to go ahead and build the surround. I'm probably just going to take this wheelbarrow and flip it over it, which will be enough wind protection until I can build the fencing portion tomorrow. Have a short piece of fence here, pretty much the same style as the other. It's called welded wire fencing. It's about 4 feet tall, probably about 4 or 5 feet long. It's not as big as it needs to be, but it will do for now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this right here and overlap it by 1 square. All right. So you're going to match up 1 square here like this, and then these are going to be used to tie it over. I know there's a million different ways to stitch a fence, but I take a sharp 90 turn right where these two are lined up. Then I turn it down and around so that it's coming through like that. Then I get my thumb in there like this, and I continue up at a diagonal, go in this direction here. Then you want to come back here with pliers or something if you care, and wrap it around. So then, in order to kind of stitch it up all the way and make it nice and tight, we're going to go every other one and then come back and tighten the one between them. This helps it keep its shape, because when you just try to do it one by one, it's a little tough. So we're going to go ahead and push that down so it's in at a sharp angle, then down and around so that it comes in between the two lower ones. Reach in with the thumb, pull it up like this, and around. And that's how we stitch it. And we're going to continue that all the way down. So our ring is stitched and fully assembled. I decided to say I'm not going to go ahead and stitch every one. There's really no need to. It's not containing a pig or anything. It's just a tree. So I'm going to go over here to the hole, set it on top of it, and kind of just go back and forth load. Get it in the soil line. See if everything fits around it. All right. And in the bigger version, I'm going to sink a T-post right over here. And that's going to anchor this fencing in. And you can just go in with one of these leads right here and wrap it right around the T-post, or get some tie wire or a rope and anchor it there. Now we get the tool, wrap the tool around the fencing for the main windbreak screen. Then we transplant, anchor it, and we're good. I'm going to go ahead and start marking or digging the next hole so I can get the organic matter empty out of the wheelbarrow. I have a lot to plant, and it's a good idea just to pace out and get all your holes done and kind of do this all the different stages at once. So dig all the holes, amend all the holes, water all the holes, make all the fence rings, install the fence rings, wrap it with tool, and finish off. But sometimes things go differently. These trees, for like full coverage, they say 15-foot spacing. So I'm going to walk about 15 feet that way and mark another spot, and then 15 feet again and mark another spot. And then that will be 2 other holes, and that will be this evening's project. In civil engineering, they teach you to know your pace. If you want to know how much your pace is to an exact inch, mark off 100 feet, walk it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, normally, and each time take note of exactly how many steps it took you to traverse 100 feet. You'll then be able to find out, wow, I have a 2-foot 6-inch pace, or smaller, or whatever. Me, I found that my pace has changed since I lost weight. So it's no longer an exact 2-foot pace, it's a little strider, 2.6. So for me, it's going to be about 7.5 steps to go 15 feet this way. It's a real handy tool without having to get out a tape measure. So we just put our toes exactly where the center of the tree is, and then I'm just going to walk 7-ish steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I didn't like put my feet together and do this or anything like that. I know my pace. So right here is about 15 feet from the other tree. And now let's see if I can get to the other end of the fence or not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. That's cool. So I can probably just put it in line with this apricot tree and nobody will care. So I'm going to take the corner line of here, intersect there. It's about right here. Oh, you know what? That's where the third tree is going to go. 5th tree. Another way you can mix in the soil is just by dumping your potting soil in the hole. And then you can just pull in native soil from the side with a rake. And then just kind of rake it in, just back and forth. And you'll notice that it pulls up the dark stuff and the light stuff falls in the hole. And you can sort of mix it that way. Nice and heavy on the sand. A little darker than the stuff around it, but not super black like this. That's how we know we have a nice, good mixture. Okay. Don't worry about the rocks. They just help with drainage. In the wrong soil type, it can cause problems, but not mine. I'm going to go ahead and hill up again. And I'm just grabbing soil from the edges and forming kind of a berm or a rim. And this helps direct the water from rain to fall into the basin, and also kind of helps from wind protection, believe it or not. Okay, now we have the Paulownia Elongata seedlings. Actually, they're not seedlings, they're grown from graft tissue. And we need to cover at least 2 to 3 inches of the stalk. In this case, it's almost all the way up to the first set of leaves. And then we're going to press it down as we get the wet, sandy. After you get in the ground, you just really need to protect it from the wind just a little bit. It was getting really dark and I had the trees in the ground, the wind was picking up. I didn't feel comfortable leaving them overnight. And so we just had these little raised garden things that Bianca made, and we just put them around the plant. As for this other one, you know, I didn't anchor this in the ground or anything. I just put my daughter's slide on its side, and it's blocking the wind that's coming really strongly from the southwest. And so that's that. Doesn't need to be fancy. Trees know how to live. 5 trees in the ground. Now if I can do the same today, that'll be all my trees.